Hi gang, welcome back to the Unraised Latina Ever. Today, this topic is I was going to my Bible study. I had missed a few weeks. I was probably really unprepared, like I've never been unprepared. So anyway, I go in there and the topic was talking about, morality. And it's so difficult because, here we are, we have people trying to do good and we're trying to instill some values and morality in like a moralist world, basically. So after a Bible study, I go to the grocery store and I'm standing in line, and the guy before me has a whole bunch of like items that are similar, and he's got a million coupons, and he says to me, "You can go ahead of me." And I said, "No, I just want to see you roll it back." So I'm sitting there and I'm amused, and I'm looking at the Ensure and the Boost and everything else, and the aspirin, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy sure, like, he consumes a lot of Boost and Ensure, and like does he not cook? And I'm making judgments, and so he saves, get this, it comes out to like $114 or $104 or something like that. And he uses all his coupons, and like he comes down to like having to owe like $4. I'm like, oh my God. And so as he walks away, the cashier goes, "Oh, he's in here all the time. He donates all that food and all that stuff that he bought to the food banks." And it just was so humbling to me because here's this guy, I thought he was just being frugal. Well, and it's great to be frugal, but he was buying up all this stuff to help people that had nothing. And so, it is interesting because we talk about the government having to give things to people. And one of the things that somebody gave to me or to one of my children was $100,000. It came from the Shriners. And the Shriners is an organization that helps little children have the gift of life. And they repair them, and make them whole again. And it was so awesome because my daughter had a neck injury. It was a broken neck, and she would have been like Greg Abbott in a wheelchair for the rest of her life if that neck didn't get fused. And we just ran out of money. And so the Shriners came in to the rescue, and after 2 blotched neck surgeries, they repaired her neck, and her nerve grew back, and she was able to regain some use of her hands. Anyway, long story short, I will never be able to repay that gift to that organization. But I think the world of the men and the hats. And sorry. And Will, just this week, really amazingly, so after months and ages and forever seeming like he was memorizing stuff, meaningless stuff that I'm thinking, what is he mumbling about? But it's all a secret. Anyway, he was mumbling for months on end. Valley, he remembered everything he needed to remember, and he just went in and became a Freemason. So anyway, and either he can go into the Scottish Rite or Shriners. And so one of the churches we were at were basically being critical about that. And one of the guys said, "Well, I was a Mason, I was a clown, and it's all about this and it's all about that." And what really bothers me about the whole thing is that guy did it for a lot of years, and whether it worked out well for him or not, or what if he thought it was a mistake or not, it's not his place to judge. And it's not anybody's place to judge. And Jesus didn't judge. He accepted people where they were, and he led by an example. And so we want to talk about judging on a big scale. We have Mr. Trump for president, and we have a former president coming up and judging him and saying, "Well, I did that and it didn't work, and well, maybe it didn't work back then for you, but maybe times are different now, and change is how things happen, and maybe it'll work for him now. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's not sabotage this poor guy." And well, he's a blowhard, he's a this, he's a that, yeah, maybe he is, maybe some people think I am, but sorry, I'm trying to get it together here, but maybe they think he's a certain way, And maybe he is that way because he's feeling condemned from every which angle. And I mean, you would probably be on the defensive too if people attacked your family and you for every little thing that you did. And even people from your own side. Part of, growing up, you learn lessons. And I think the most valuable lesson I ever learned, and I learned it from the boys, I didn't learn it from the girls, is I played boys Little League. And I learned the lesson of sports and being part of a team and really feeling included. And I didn't feel that with the girls. For some reason, I just didn't. So my dad wanted to teach me, all about sports and team playing. And, I was the daisy picker. I didn't like it. I just, I bitched about being outfield. I'm like, Dad, it's boring out there. I never get any action. And I was really little at the time. And my brother, was a couple years younger than me. And we were just little tiny tykes. We were kids in New Jersey playing ball. But, everybody, got to play. I never really sat out that much. Every once in a while, we'd trade in, I would trade in and out of left field or right field. But you know what? We got to play. But we all got to bat. And so the moral to this story is he said, you're probably better than most of these boys. But you know what? If I put you up front and you're a little girl, you're not supposed to be on this league. It's only for boys. And it wouldn't be unfair to the boys. And they'll bitch about it, and then they'll throw me out, and they'll throw you out, and we'll all be out of here, So anyway, I played that year, and then the next year he signed me up for cheerleading, and it really kind of sucked. It wasn't as fun as baseball, but and it wasn't. And then my dad couldn't coach the team either. But probably the most instrumental, most important thing that stood out was playing with those boys. So I grow up and I have learning disabilities and speech issues and all sorts of issues. And I grew up and I just didn't feel comfortable in my own gender. And I started getting political and reading and being part of groups. And I noticed that there wasn't a lot of females. There was me with a group of guys, and I was on certain boards and I sat with the fishermen. We talked about wave energy and just guy things. And so I found all that really interesting, and I would read up on stuff and learn about policy, and I felt successful at something, and and I do have guy humor, like we were talking about the time the governor of Oregon, he wanted to make little parks, marine parks for the seas, and close down the fishing for the fishermen. Bill came from Bar Harbor, Maine, so they had fishing, right, Bill? So we have these people from Korea, that fish off the coast of the Oregon, and they drag the seas dry, and they ruin it for the fishermen who want to catch fish for their family and for our community. We don't want to have to buy our fish from Koreans, because God knows what they do to our fish. So anyway, I'm sitting with the commissioner one day, and I go, you know what? I said, we got these people from out of the country who want to put windmills and try their wave energy experiment, and I have a friend that has a windmill on the hill, and like every time that fucking thing goes around, her china like jumps up on the china cabinet. He just kind of looks at me. He doesn't know where I'm going with this, and none of the guys, when I joke around or whisper to them, they did not know where I was going with it. And I said, next, we want to do these little marine parks, and make it, so that the bottom of the fishing floor like grows better or whatever, so that the little, like stuff, forms back, right? I said, everything would just be peachy keen if all those fucking Koreans didn't like drag net our seas. I said, those little drag bags, we need to just harpoon them. That's legal. They can come and drag our seas, but we can't do that. And then they ruin it for everybody. And then they take all our stuff and they take it back to Korea and they package it there, right? And then they sell it to us, adding God knows what in there. These are the people that hate us, Mr. Trump. They hate our guts. So why would we want to buy tuna from Koreans when we could buy it here in the United States? And I would rather pay $1 or $2 more a can for American tuna than I would Korean tuna. So why are we doing that? So you know, Terry, the commissioner, he started laughing. And I said, it's not funny, I'm being serious here. Serious here, you know, and he laughed, you know, because he knew that I had a valid point. And I don't know why the Democratic governor like appointed me to these stupid boards, because, you know, I make these things that made a lot of sense. Why these people are going marine parks and let's close down the seas and grow the ocean floor. You know, these freaking liberals just sit there going, what am I doing here with all these morons? But, you know, there was a necessity because they needed to have somebody with a very new perspective and who was very real, you know, because if everybody thought the same and if we were all alike, it would be a very boring world that we lived in. And so it was very unique just to have this Hispanic female sit with the guys and discuss policy and actually I sat at the table with the Scottish Rite guys, you know, at the head of the table with my son. And I wasn't even part of the right, which Bill has two directions he can go in. He can go to the right or he can go to the Shriners, but either or is fine, you know. I'm good with either. But you know, it was a time in my life where in a place where you didn't have Hispanic leadership and you didn't have women ever mixing it up and talking with the men, and being able to, like, you know, hey, you know, thank you for including me on lunch. You know, anytime you want to go hunting on our land, you know, because I have acreage out in Oregon, you know, come on down and, you know, bring your rifles and you can hunt. It's all good. And if my father-in-law stops you, just tell him Dee said I can hunt. Because he doesn't like hunters, but, you know, if you say Dee said, he'll be cool with that. So, you know, he sold his part of the land, you know, piece, because we had pieces adjoining. And, you know, we just have the timber. He sold the best part, and people farm. And I was telling somebody that when they farm, they have this barn, and you drive up and you get what you need, and then you put everything in a box, you know, and it's kind of a good faith system. And we've really lost our way, because it is such a me world out there. I mean, I just, these millennials haven't really a clue about what's coming around the corner. Eventually, we are going to have to deal with the $1 trillion debt. We can't just be the you know, everything's free, because it comes from somewhere, and our jobs are going away and more people are coming in than we can handle. And so it's not like we're being heartless or we're being mean or that Mr. Trump is bad. I honestly believe he's trying to do the right thing. And I think Mr. Bush's humor, because I'm very sarcastic like that, and I'm going to talk to you personally, Mr. Bush. I'm very sarcastic. It's probably one of my downfalls. It's one of the things that I wish sometimes, it's what makes everybody like me, but then at the same time, I can look like a real ass. The timing of that remark came in a time when people were questioning whether or not you supported the president. And so what could have been was maybe a joke or humor, it can be taken, you know, with people like ready to, like, you know, because they're all angry about the last 8 years, because during Barack Obama you said nothing, and a lot of us lost our marriages, we lost our homes, and some of us even almost lost their lives. So with that said, you know, I'm very thankful that we have a conservative guy. I pray every day that he has guidance and protection and wisdom, and also support from his own party, because that's really important. Because you know, whether you agree on everything or not, it doesn't really matter. But we're all a part of a team, and I think Dad would want us to support our president. I mean, I know Dad cringes over some of the things that he says too. I know Dad's probably cringes over some of the things I say, but you know, all of us have that ability to put our foot in our mouth. And with that said, all we can do is try our very best. And honestly, I think that we are in very dire needs right now with our border and with all the crime and with the economy. And this guy has got a lot on his plate, so give him a break and give him the benefit of the doubt, and have a blessed day, y'all.